Hello, good evening, everybody. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever time you're watching this. Welcome to another episode of Belonging Capital. My name is Nabdi Hanach, and I am the one who built this framework. I guess I get to say that. If you don't know what Belonging Capital is, I did a TEDx talk. I introduced this framework to the world, just the importance of your network. And I want to start today's episode by saying your network is not your net worth. Your network might actually be your net loss if you are building it wrong. So there has to be an intentionality when it comes to building your network. Okay. In this episode, I want to talk about why traditional networking advice, fails for immigrant professionals and what to build instead. The complete belonging capital is, I want to talk about the framework that gets you from connections to career acceleration. Remember, belonging capital is not about fitting in. It's about building the three currencies that make you indispensable, and their access capital. That's the person who can open doors. And then we have the sponsorship capital. That is the one who fights for you when you're not there. And then we have identity capital, showing up fully as yourself without having to shrink. And this is very important, especially for immigrants who oftentimes we have to make adjustments, alterations to who we are. We have to hide certain parts of ourselves to be accepted. And so identity capital is showing up as yourself, being proud of your heritage and showing up the correct way. You see, many immigrant professionals, mistake activity for strategy. They go for events, they network constantly, but they never build any specific currencies that create career momentum. So we're everywhere. We are staying busy. We're talking to people. The LinkedIn connection list is growing, but we don't have any meaningful connections that can move the needle for you in your career or in your business. And so it's very important to be very attentive to these things. Okay, so there's the first thing I want to identify or call out today is the connection trap. The connection trap where you go in for events. I remember when I was completing my master's program and I was going for everything, right? Every career fair. I would drive from Wilmington to Raleigh to attend, career fairs. I would drive to Charlotte. If there's anything going on in the county or anywhere in the city, any hiring events, I was there. You're collecting business cards, you're making LinkedIn connections, you are shaking hands. And so the connection list is growing, your phone database is growing. But then it wasn't translating to any opportunities per se. It wasn't translating to any opportunities, any jobs. For some people, it's no promotions, no new, business, all of that. For me, it was no new opportunities. And it was something I needed. Okay. It wasn't until I relocated and I moved to Atlanta and I found meaningful connections of people who were willing to be advocates for myself or for me, right? Who were willing to give me access to meaningful networks. There was a level of intentionality that came with this new group of relationships that I had. And in a short time it led to multiple job opportunities, and so it validated like I actually knew what I was talking about. I was actually solid and sound, and but it didn't lead to opportunities because I was, prior to that time, all of my networking was activity based, and there wasn't any. It wasn't orchestrated for success, for opportunity. All right. The second thing I want to highlight is the three currency system that makes up belonging capital. So the first one I talked about is the access capital. When we talk about access, it's not just knowing people in power. It's having people who open doors specifically for you. So it's not about the amount of important people you have, their phone numbers. It's important people that think of you when there are opportunities. It's door openers. It's quality over quantity. It's not about the number. It's about, are you meaningful enough in those circles in their mind when opportunity comes? Are you just somebody they know or somebody they see as a resource? Are you just somebody they know, somebody who they've met? They meet a lot of people. What makes you stand out? What will make them think about you when it comes time for opportunities? Right. And so it's quality over quantity. So be intentional. I finished up today. I wrapped up. I went to a summit for social impact entrepreneurs here in Atlanta, and 2 days of networking, 2 days of meeting people, and at some point it gets exhausted. It's how many of these people, and so my strategy has always been let it come organically. There are people who you walk into. Yeah, there's strategy to it. You have to be intentional about meeting certain groups, organizations, all of that. But what I've found is it's those natural engagements, right? There are people that I have their numbers now that are doing things in Nigeria. And I didn't have those people in my Rolodex of people to reach out to. And there are people who are like, man, we got to do stuff together. And these weren't people who were on the checklist of the names on the sponsor list, right? And so, but it's making room. Like it happened because I made room to have organic connections. It's walking, is meeting someone like, hey, that's cool, that's dope. Like, oh, and then we say joke and we laugh. And like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Who are you with? Oh, that's great. Like I've made like it feel the powerful connections I've made in the last couple of days have not been the brand name people. Like people I know for certain I'll be doing work with. It's people who I had organic connections with. And so where I'm going is focus on quality connections over having a large database and pool of names that you know on your your phone list. So that is access capital. The second, in the three currency system is sponsorship capital. This is someone who will stake their reputation on yours, who will basically put their credibility on the line for you. They don't just refer you, they advocate for you even when you're not in the room. That is so powerful, right? This is very powerful. We're having somebody who will be willing to say, listen, I trust, I'm putting my money on this person. I'm standing with them. I think I know and I can vouch for their credibility and their, for the quality that they will deliver and who they are. This is so powerful. And I think it's something you shouldn't take lightly if somebody does for you. But you build this with trust over time. It is a product of you delivering over a season. That's how you get to win people to step into this role for you, to where they can tap into their network and be willing to stake their credibility on you and say and put their name on the line for you. That's something super powerful. But that is the second in the three currency system of belonging capital. And then the third one is identity capital, and it's showing up as your full authentic self, your African name, your background, your faith, right? Who you are, showing up that way, and then being valued for that, not in spite of or not despite that. And so those are the three currencies in the belonging capital framework, right? And one thing I have found and I've seen with among immigrant professionals, and I call this the immigrant professional mistake, is we try to build access capital by shrinking our identity capital, right? We want to, because we want those meaningful connections and we want to connect to the big names, we change up who we are, right? We code switch, we network up by hiding who we are. And what you get, and also I'm back to what I was saying before, the result of this is shallow connections that never convert to sponsorship, right? Because people can tell when you're not real, when you are, just playing to the gallery, when you're trying to impress, or when you are working too hard. You're trying too hard to impress. People can tell. And I'll tell you right now, it's not always a good look for anybody. It's like, why is this person trying too hard? It changes, or it puts a dent on your motives, right? Certainly people who are in this space a lot of the time are already overwhelmed by people who are trying to take advantage of what they bring to the table. Maybe because I'm highly placed in an organization. That's the reason why all of you clamor for my attention when I come for these networking events. And so for that kind of person who is already overwhelmed by people who are just trying to get from them, or who are networking with them for what they can get out of them, it's important that you are not, it's going to be a flag to them when they can tell this person is only here for what they're trying to get. And again, I'm sure they're used to it, and they're also playing a game as well. And maybe they're trying to also get a partner with organizations that ultimately benefits their parent organization. So there's that going on both ways. But in the end, nobody wants to be used. Nobody likes to be exploited, or seen as a gateway or access to the next. And so make connections genuine, right? That's what I would recommend. If you are always having to adjust and hide yourself, you are shrinking identity capital so that you can get access capital, you're going to mess up your sponsorship opportunities. You're going to mess up sponsorship capital. And so be aware of this. The people who advance the fastest, they build all three currencies simultaneously, right? They do so with intention. There has to be a level of intention that you build with when you are networking, when you're connecting. You're paying attention to all of that. Yes, I want people who can open doors. I want access to people of influence. I want access to people who are decision makers, right? I want to be in the spaces with them. I want to, have those connections. That is valid. That is true. You don't want to shrink and then paint an inaccurate image. Again, one, it's easy to tell when somebody's not being themselves. But in that case, what you're doing is again, you're shrinking identity. So now you're not yourself. They don't know who you are, and so you don't get the trust equity. That's and it's the trust equity that lets me want to stake my credibility for you in sponsorship, right? So don't miss out on all three because you are trying too hard to get one. All right. So be intentional about building all of them. So yes, I want to network with the right kind of people and the people that can change my life, my helpers. But at the same time, I am also not hiding. I am showing up myself and let the connection be meaningful. Let this person be able to, man, I connected with this person because of how, their heritage and the work ethic they've shown me, their faith, right? All of that, and then as you make those connections, begin to build trust by bringing value. Okay, be somebody who delivers with excellence, become somebody who brings results. And that's how you build the trust equity. And that's where somebody now feels like I can stand for this person. I can vouch for them. I can be surety for them, right? To ensure that, that's how you build trust and then get people to be able, be willing to expose you to their connections, to their network and stake their credibility against yours, right? And this is how people get promoted. This is how people get business. This is how people win grants. This is how people, I had somebody again sponsorship capital. I have a sponsorship application that is up now, and it's a product of this sponsorship capital. Like I have two, under the African Collective way, I have two pending proposals that are a direct, outcome of like belonging capital. This is literally a life I'm living out now. But it's showing yourself trustworthy, being somebody that can be depended on, right? So how do I audit belonging capital? So there's this, I call this section belonging capital audit. And there are three diagnostic questions we're going to get into really quickly. The first one, and again, take note of these questions, they are important, and then apply this to your situation, to yourself. Do you have at least three people, two levels above you, who would take your call today and give you honest career advice? This can be career, this can also be business. Do you have at least three people who are two levels above you who you can call and they'll pick up and they can give you honest career advice? They can, help you with navigating and doing things like that. Again, we are doing an audit. Write this down and think about this. Question number two, the sponsorship capital audit. Is there someone in leadership who has actively recommended you for an opportunity, an assignment, or a promotion in the last 12 months? Is there someone in leadership who has actively recommended you for an opportunity, for an assignment, or for a promotion in the last 12 months? How are you feeling about number one and number two so far? If number two is none in the last 12 months, then we have work to do, right? So we've done access audits, sponsorship audits. Now, the third one is for the identity capital audits. Can you name the unique value you bring because of your background, not despite it? And do your colleagues see and appreciate this value? Can you name the unique value you bring because of your background, not despite it? And do your colleagues see and appreciate this value? Okay, so what are the things that you stand out for that are, a product of where you're coming from or who you are, right? Are you somebody they feel like, man, this person is trustworthy, they are reliable, and that's because you are that way because you're a person of faith, right? Are you somebody they can say, man, this person is a servant leader, they have a heart for the people, and that's a product of your journey, as a person of faith. Maybe somebody who has dealt with certain things, maybe some times in your upbringings that has trained you to have a level of empathy for people that you deal with, right? It's part of that. So do an audit and see, do you have traits from your background that show up in your work that people have become, people now appreciate, that is, an identity for you. Take note of those things, whether it's with your work ethic that you inherited from your father or from your mother, based off of where you are from, because that was the only way they could survive and provide for you. Is it your accents that you now gives you a unique sound that has opened doors for you, right? All of these things are important to pay attention to. Okay, they are important to be aware of. And so I want to show you strong versus weak signals, because all of this, as you're doing this audit, you are basically generating signals. So a strong signal is specific people in your audit, recent actions, authentic relationships, right? If you have specific people that are coming to your head or recent events, in line with this audit, authentic relationships. And I say authentic, that is very important. Not just relationships, not just contacts, but authentic relationships, meaningful relationships. And then for if how to know the signals are weak, if you have what you're doing is general networking, surface level connections, and you have to hide your identity, your cultural identity, to even do these things. That's weak signals. Those are weak signals. So this audit is not just to call things out, it's also for you to start taking meaningful action. Okay, so one thing as I wrap up this session, one thing to do this week is pick one currency to focus on. So whether it's access capital, whether it's sponsorship capital, whether it's identity, pick one. Don't try to build all three at once, right? Let's say you're weak on access. Identify one person, two levels, above you, and build a relationship. Start building that relationship, right? Intentionally start building these relationships. And then if you have access, but you don't have sponsorship, then have a conversation with someone, someone in that position about your career goals, right? Have a conversation, somebody who you see as a mentor, as you've done work with before. Say, hey, this is the direction I see my career going. What's your take? Like, how do you, because again, when you have those conversations, you are sowing seed. You are sowing seed because now it can start leading to that, the sponsor can become access based off of, meaningful conversations. And then if you are going through a season or where you feel like, or you're in a situation where you feel like you have to hide your identity, find one way this week and show up more authentically. Right? Show up as yourself. Wear your identity on your face, at your forehead, on your forehead, right? So wanted to highlight that, and just say, hey, it's make sure you're showing up. You are your network is your net worth if you build it correctly, right? If not, it can just turn to your net loss. So let's get intentional, right? We are not meant to do life by ourselves. We are not meant to do life alone. Earlier this week, I was talking in my Anointed Ambition program. I was talking about just the value and the design that we have to not do life alone. That's how God has made it. And so I want you to build intentionally, build relationships intentionally, not selfishly, not transactionally, but intentionality to what's a value exchange in this relationship, in this networking. How do I make sure it's not just about what I can get, but what I can give? Does that make sense? Because those are the ones that become meaningful and become something. All right. Again, thank you for listening. I'm wrapping up now. But I want you to again join me every Friday. We have the belonging capital for the next few weeks, leaning into my conversation on the TEDx stage. But every Wednesday I go live on Anointed Ambition. And so if you want to come on and have a conversation, ask questions, we engage, we have, we chat, we're building community out here. So join us every Wednesday by 9 p.m. And then also June 12th here in Atlanta, we are having the first edition of the Sharpnet. I'm excited about that. So we will be making the announcement this week. You see how to register, all of that good stuff. But I'm excited about that one as well. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do it. I'm trying to build and continue the momentum. So spread the word. Let's build and continue to build. But till next week, thank you for listening and let's keep building. God bless you.